Hey everyone, welcome to I Dream of Homestead. I'm Josefina and today I'm in the kitchen making a dish that I have been craving all week, chiles rellenos. So I'm sure a lot of you know what that dish already is, but for those of you that don't, it is stuffed poblano peppers. Poblano peppers are so good. They are not spicy, although occasionally I have had times where they had a bit of a kick to them, but it's always a mild kick and it's one that can be easily washed down with water. It's not one that lingers. So let's get started. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a sheet pan. Normally I would line this with foil, but I ran out. And so I'm just gonna put the poblano peppers directly on here and I'm gonna put them under the broiler on high heat. I'm gonna get back to you on how long. I just wait until they're completely charred. So once the one side is charred, then I'll flip them over and char off the other side. Okay, so I've pulled them out and you can see the skin is all charred up. So I've got them transferred into the bowl and now I'm gonna put a lid on them because that's going to trap all the steam from the heat of the peppers in there. And what that steam is gonna do is it's gonna separate that layer that's been charred from the flesh of the pepper. So then that can be easily peeled away once these have cooled down enough. So I'm gonna set these off to the side. And the next thing I'm gonna work on is the tomatoes. So I'm going to char these tomatoes, which are about 2 pounds of tomatoes. I'm gonna char half of an onion and then 6 cloves of garlic. And with the onion, I like to try to separate some of the layers from each other. That way the char goes further than just the surface of it. And then, as always, with the garlic cloves, I'm putting them with the skin still on so that the skin burns and not the actual garlic. And while those peppers are steaming in that bowl and the tomatoes are in the oven, I am going to prepare the eggs that the peppers are gonna be dipped into. I'm just doing all my prep ahead of time so that while I'm waiting for all of this to happen, I can have my other steps ready to go. You guys, I've tried to say this so many times and I just keep tripping up over my words. I swear, I'm gonna get it out this time. Okay, so I have eggs. Mixing bowl. In the mixing bowl, I'm going to separate my eggs and I'm gonna put the whites in here and I'm gonna beat those until they are super fluffy. Then after those are fluffy, I'm gonna add the egg yolks back into it. So I'm not gonna waste any part of the egg. This is just to get that fluff going. I like to separate them in my hand just because it's so much quicker. And then you also run less risk of popping the yolk. You are gonna want these eggs to be room temperature. That way they stay fluffy a lot longer. Because if you do it with cold, it's gonna take you a little bit longer to get to that fluffy point. And then I noticed that it deflates a lot quicker. So I'm gonna leave these off to the side and I'm gonna check on that garlic and make sure that it is in a good place because that will cook before anything else does. All right, so my tomatoes and my onions are nicely charred now. I had the garlic in a spot where it was away from the flame so that it could sit as long as it was with everything else. And I have those off to the side so I can peel them, but all of this is going to go into the blender as is. So now I'm peeling the garlic, and as you can see, it's not burnt at all. It's just the paper that got the coloring on it. And if you've seen my videos before, I'm sorry if I'm putting you through this again, but for those of you who haven't, the reason why I am charring all of these things, especially the garlic, you can see after garlic's been charred, it's literally just this like squishy. It softens up the garlic and it gives it this sweetness. All of the vegetables that get roasted get this sweetness in them that's just delicious, and it's got this kind of like hint of like a smoky flavor from that charring that's on the outside of the skin. So the level of flavor on this sauce just like reaches a whole nother level that boiling could not give them. But if you don't want to sit through broiling everything to get that char, you can boil these. That is a way that I have done it before too. I'm always gonna go for roasting if I have the option and I have the time. There's just nothing like it. Now to this, I'm gonna add some water. And I'm also gonna add in some fresh oregano. I have done this with dry oregano, but in the recipe, I'm gonna have listed below in the description box the amount for fresh oregano. If you have dry, then just cut that amount in half. And this is totally optional. You don't have to add this in if you don't like it, but just a little bit of ground cumin. The smoky from the vegetables is like a charred kind of smoky, and this is like a sweet, earthy kind of smoky. So that's it. Now we're gonna move on to putting this in a pan. All right, so I've got this pan on medium heat and I've got about 2 tablespoons of oil in there. And with the oil heated, I'm gonna go ahead and add in this sauce. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this here to simmer just so that it can marry up all those flavors together. And then if there's any part of the tomato that wasn't cooked all the way through the charring, then this is gonna allow that raw tomato flavor to cook off. Let me get down low. Okay, while the sauce is continuing to simmer over there, I am now going to peel these peppers. This should be cool enough now that they're not gonna burn my fingers off. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel those. And you can see how easily this just pulls away. Look at that. Ooh. I find peeling these so satisfying. I don't know if any of you guys ever did it when you were in school, but it's like when you used to take the Elmer's glue and put it on your hand and then just spread it all over your palm and let it dry, and then you get to peel it away. Now as an adult, I don't do that, but I get that same satisfaction out of doing that with peppers. How satisfying. So aside from charring the skin, giving the flesh a nice cook through, the other reason for removing the skin on these peppers is because they're kind of bitter. So when you go and you cook this, if you make this without doing this, the pepper itself is still going to be raw if you cook it without charring it. And it's also going to have this bitterness to it that you will taste and you'll recognize it right away, and it's really not that enjoyable. So peeling it off is going to give it the sweetness. It's also going to take away the bitterness, and it's already going to have cooked the pepper, because once we dip it into that oil, it's just a quick flash fry. Just to get the egg on the outside cooked, and then right to the sauce it goes. Okay, so now with them completely peeled, all I'm gonna do is stick my finger in it and run it right down the middle of it. Some of them are easier than others, but then you can see the seeds in there, and now I'm gonna reach in and pull out as many seeds as I can. So I got out all that I could. There's probably still a few in there somewhere. I'm gonna set that off to the side and continue to work. See, look at that. Look at how easily I just sliced through that. Oh. I like to be able to get them all. I like to completely curve my fingers around all of them and then squeeze with my thumb and my index finger, and they all just kind of squeeze into my hand. Okay, I've got them all peeled and de-seeded. Now I'm just gonna take some paper towels and I'm just gonna dry them off on the outside as much as I can without damaging them too much. And that's just gonna help the eggs stick to the peppers without having to do flour. So for this next step, I am only gonna stuff half of them with cheese. Many of you have already heard, but for those of you who don't know, I don't do dairy. So I can't have cheese in mine. I'll show you in a minute what I'm gonna stuff those with, but I'll stuff some of these with shredded cheese. You can use shredded cheese, you can use Oaxaca cheese, you can use whatever kind of good melted cheese you like inside that doesn't have a ton of moisture in it. So I have 3 that are stuffed with the cheese. And now I'm gonna walk you over to my mixing bowl area so that we can beat some eggs up. Okay, so I have all the egg whites in here. And with the whisk attachment, I'm going to start beating those on a lower setting and slowly increase it so that I don't go straight to the high and then throw egg everywhere. Okay, so I want this to be at stiff peaks. So I'm gonna take a look to see where we are currently at. And we have stiff peaks. A way to check if it is to mix that whisk and bring it up, and then you'll see little mounds that just kind of stay and they stay sticking up. So I'm gonna put this back on, and now I'm gonna turn this on low, and one at a time I'm gonna add the egg yolks into it. Egg yolks look fully incorporated. You don't want to overmix it because then it's just going to break and you won't be able to use it anymore. And we're back over with the peppers. So 2 things that I forgot to mention before I moved on to all that stuff was, while I was peeling the peppers, I went ahead and turned off that tomato sauce. I stirred it occasionally. That simmered for maybe 10 minutes at most. You don't want it to get too thick, but if it does, you can just add a little bit of water and it'll thin it out some. I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second. And then also, when I walked over to whip up the eggs, I turned on a pot of oil that I'm gonna be doing a shallow pan fry in for these peppers. So you can see the pan of oil, it's maybe like a quarter of the way up the pan. All right, so when your oil's ready, which you can do testing with a toothpick, you can drop in the end of your wooden spoon like I did, and if it bubbles up, then you know it's ready. So I'm gonna take one of these peppers and I'm gonna make sure to fold it to where it is closed. So now I'm going to take it just like this, and I'm going to dip it right in, and I'm gonna move it around using the stem and bring it straight into the pan. Okay, and so with a spoon, you're gonna take the oil and just kind of splash it over the top of it. That's not gonna cook the egg that's on the top. That's just gonna kind of form a skin over that egg so that it stays intact while it's cooking in there, and then you flip it over and it doesn't fall apart. And once both sides are golden, I did lose a teeny bit in the middle, but that doesn't bother me. I'm gonna transfer this over to a paper towel. You can put it directly into the pan with the sauce in it. But doing it on the paper just helps it kind of catch all that excess oil that's on it. All right, so I'm gonna do another one with cheese. So make sure that it's closed. Dip it in. Pull it out and right into the oil. And I use the help of another utensil to flip it over, because sometimes it can be a little too slippery. The automatic vent turned on my microwave, so I apologize for hearing that in the background. And I'm gonna time this next one for you guys because I think it's like 30 seconds per side. because the egg does not take much time to cook, and like I told you before, the pepper itself is already cooked. Here, wiggle it around, lift up, and okay, and now for mine. So you can stuff these peppers with whatever you want. Ground beef, chicken, rice. You can do anything. You can stuff it with other vegetables. I really love the egg that's on the outside. So for mine, you have two options. So first one is to completely take it apart. Remove the stem, remove the insides, let it just be butterflied open. And let me move you back over. Okay. I'm gonna split it in half. So I'm just gonna dip it straight into the egg, just like this. And put it right in. And you see how quick that was? So for these next two, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this egg and using a spoon, I'm gonna dollop straight into the oil. And I'm gonna do 4 dollops. Got my 4 little babies. I'm gonna take those little blips I just made and I'm gonna stuff them right inside. Whew. My little egg patties. I like little egg fritters. Okay? And I'm gonna do the same thing. Dip it right in. I stepped away from my microwave for this part so that I can talk to you guys. Hopefully you guys can still hear me well. But with the leftover egg, I just put it in here and I cook it in the oil because my kids love to eat it this way. I'll sprinkle cheese on top of it and then the sauce, and they absolutely love it. I do too, honestly, but I do this more for them. The fan finally turned off. Okay, so these are the peppers. If you want the egg to stick completely to everything and not show you one single bit of the pepper, then dip them in flour after you've stuffed them with the cheese. Dip them with that flour before you put them in the egg and it will stick all the way around. I just don't want the extra flour in mine, so I leave it out. This, seeing little bits of pepper, does not bother me at all. It doesn't change the flavor and it gives it just kind of like a little rustic look. So here I've got the sauce. I turned it back on so I could bring it right back up to a simmer, make sure it's warm. And this is the consistency I've got for mine. It's like a gravy, essentially. And I'm going to put these right back in. To to go with my yummy peppers, I made some Mexican rice. I know you can't see it too much because it's just covered in that yummy sauce. But I love this meal so much. I know I say that about so many things, guys, but like these stuffed peppers are so good. My husband absolutely loves these. All right, so I'm going in. Ooh, these have a little kick to them. I love when they have a kick. It's like hitting the jackpot. Oh my goodness. You can see the egg that's in the middle there. And that sauce on top. Oh, it's like this yummy smoky heaven. Oh, it's so good. That sauce, I could literally put it in a cup and then just sip on it. It's so good. I love it so much. And on the Mexican rice, the egg with this sauce by itself. I showed you guys how I give that to my kids. I don't know what it is about those eggs, but having it like that, whipped with just this sauce for breakfast is so good. But then with this pepper, it's so good. I hope you guys try this out. I know it's not the prettiest dish in the world, but oh my God. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I hope that you're willing to hit that subscribe button and stick around with me for a while on my journey to becoming a homesteader. I'll see you in the next one.